me go ahead. All right. I am here with the one and only William Instone, and we're talking about his new film, Butcher's Bluff, coming out on March 11th. This movie was fantastic. I watched it actually today, and I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of it as a
Oh,
horror film.
really? Did Breaking Glass give you a screener?
They sure did.
Awesome, man. Awesome. That's
Hey,
that's that's good. I'm glad they're doing that. I mean, I've been really happy with their marketing. They've been doing really well for me. They designed our new poster. They cut us a good trailer. They gave us a good 5.1 surround sound. I haven't seen it yet, the new sound, so hopefully it sounded good, man.
it did. It definitely did.
All right. So you got to see it before I did. Damn.
That's a first. I think it's the first time I ever heard that I got to see a movie like a new version before the director themselves got to see it. I think that's the first time ever in my 10 years of doing this.
Yeah, unless they sent you my original screener. So I don't know. So we it could be, it could not be. I don't know. I just know that they are doing me a good 5.1 surround sound for international sales because you have to have that for dubbing in other
Yeah.
languages and things like that. So again, they've been really cool with me, and you know, I had heard some stories from other filmmakers to be wary, but I have not had any issues at all with them. They've been really, really good to me. So thumbs up, man. Breaking Glass. I'm down.
Awesome. So my first question is, what was your inspiration behind the story on this film? Because this is amazing.
And well, okay, it's kind of complicated, but the axis of it, I wanted to make a throwback slasher film forever, and but I wanted it to have something set in, kind of that could relate to modern times, and bullying was a big deal. And as a man of weight, I I, uh, I heard those fat ass stories, and I was picked on a little bit as a kid, but then I got bigger than them, and instead of like our character who just took it, I had this big fist, and I realized that just because I was bigger than them, I could actually beat the shit out of them. So at that point, after one or two smacking someone around, I never got picked on again. But our character obviously didn't. And so I wrote a Western with my co-writer Renfield Rasmussen, and we won some awards for this Western, which was basically like the Punisher set in the Civil War era, which is a badass story. Hopefully we'll get somewhere with it someday. And we started brainstorming like, hey, I want to do this slasher film. I want it to be about bullying. What do you think? And we spent probably a month going back and forth before we ever even wrote anything. And the final script is way different than what it was as we started talking. Um, because we were going to actually show, since you've seen the film, obviously no spoilers here, but we
Yeah.
show the Hogman as a child in flashbacks.
Yeah.
We actually wanted to start the film as him being a child. Kind of like prom night. You remember how prom night started as them
Yeah.
being. I was kind of like, okay, because one thing for those of you who don't know, you'll know now, is that Butcher's Bluff was a love letter to every 80s slasher film I could think of, pretty much. But I mean, there was a handful that I really grabbed influence from, but I wanted to get influence from, take a little bit from here and there. Um, so our original, like, okay, let's do it like prom night, something happens, the tragedy happens, and then we'll come back, 15, 20 years later, and he'll wipe out the people who killed him. And originally it was supposed to be for one of the bullies' wedding. They were going to all come back to their small town for a wedding, and then he's waiting there, and he fucking eliminates them all. Well, again, stories evolve. Again, we
Right.
were on this phone, like, well, what if this? What if this? And then I started really realizing that I didn't want to work with kids. you
Yeah.
um, Child actors are very difficult to work with. I was very lucky in this film that the child actors I had were all great. They were very easy to work with. I'm been quoted as being one of the only directors to really be able to get our main child actor to do exactly what I wanted them to do. Kids, they don't have the attention spans really to stay interested in something for very long. But he did everything I told him to do, and was focused and gave a really good performance.
Yeah.
There were some parts where like I'm like, holy shit, I was like, I can't believe he's doing
Yeah.
that.
I have to agree on that, especially when they show him getting
Yeah,
that revenge. I was just like, the way
yeah,
he presented himself, I'm like, holy crap,
yeah.
this kid's insane.
And I mimicked some of my movements off how he moved because I really, I kind of like was trying to figure out how does the Hogman move, and originally I thought, okay, well, is he going to be kind of like a Jason Voorhees? He's not our Leatherface. Spoiler, he's not a zombie or anything. He's just a regular
No,
guy.
he just
But
yeah.
and when I didn't really have it down until I saw the way this kid moved, and I was like, okay, he has his head bowed. And the sad thing when you see it, I mean, he's grown up now. It's this we filmed this 5 years ago. He's a teenager now, but he was picked on. That boy was really picked on in real life, and
Oh
so it was
wow.
easy. It was easy for him to go into that state of crying and being upset because I had permission from his mother, so don't get mad at me, people. But I would go whisper in his ear and really trigger him to bring out those emotions, to get him to cry and to get to relive those moments where he was picked on for his weight. And now he plays football. So okay, see, it's the same story. That exercise is going to play on you, and now you're going to be popular because you're a football player. So hey, it all works out. But I guess coming back to it, it's really I like slasher films. I wanted to make the film I wanted to see, and is heavily influenced by Friday the 13th Part Two and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those are the two main films, but there's
Oh
a little bit of Halloween in there, a little bit of Blair Witch Project. Because Blair Witch, okay, don't get. It.
yes.
I
Yeah.
know it's not 80s, and it's not a found
That's
footage. So
okay. And that's and even if you look at it, one of the deaths remind me of Hatchet.
oh yes, that was
So I
I
could say
met
Hatchet was also
uh,
inspired. And we've time.
big time. Oh my god, dude, you have no idea how much Hatchet inspires me. I met Adam Green and I told him, I was like, look, if it wasn't for you, my film wouldn't exist. I even copied what he did to get Hatchet made. He made a fake trailer with of a little girl talking about Victor Crowley. I had my daughter do the same thing about Alex Grimley, you know, and I told Adam that Adam's so cool, man. He was just like, dude, that means so much to me. And I told him about the kill. Uh, and the effects artist of Hatchet was there, and he even waved him over. He was at a convention. He goes, "Hey, come here, tell him what you told me." And I told him about that, and then, even then, the effects artist was like, "I love hearing that, dude, that
Yeah.
you paid homage without copying it." I was like, "It's the same, but not." You know,
Right. You put your own little spin on that
yeah,
kill, but it still
yeah.
reminded me
Again,
the hell out of Hatchet.
I'm not supernatural. Hogman is not supernatural, so
Right.
I couldn't do the what Victor Crowley did. But even this one, it's not very realistic, but it looks cool. And we've had 6 screenings here in Texas, and every time that kill gets the people
Yeah,
cheering.
that I think that would be if I know that there's that channel Dead Meat that does the kill counts. I think that kill
Yeah,
would get their golden chainsaw award for sure.
nice.
That particular one, I'm pretty sure that would the golden
Well,
chainsaw get that one.
and it's practical effects.
That's good. Yeah,
Um, yeah, and there's actually, if you count the opening credits, there's 32 kills in this film.
that's amazing. Yeah, I know because I know it's like you see all these great kills in like the opening credits, including lovely Texas Chainsaw inspired one where you cut the guy and like I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
amazing.
That's the remake Baranowski Leatherface influenced because Baranowski's a cool fucking dude, man. People have their opinions of him. I think he's a cool dude. So,
Yeah, I do too.
Baranowski. I can't say your name, Andrew. I'm sorry, bro. uh, but yeah, that was heavily influenced by that kill he did in I believe it was the beginning.
And I would love to know how you got some of these great actors in these smaller roles. Like Jeremy London gets killed in the opening. I'm just gonna let that one out. Like
Yeah,
that was
he's our Janet
fantastic.
lead, and that's what he kept saying because I get to be the Janet lead. I'm like, yeah.
And then you got
Jeremy was it
yeah,
was cool because here's the thing, bro. We shot this during COVID, I raised the money in 2019, and we didn't get to shoot till August of 2020. And at the time, you know, Jeremy was like, I got nothing on my schedule. Yeah, I can come out for a weekend. I just asked him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think he kept busy during the pandemic because he was in a bunch of these indie flicks, and he's just like,
He
I'm
had
gonna be
nothing
on.
on. He had nothing on his schedule for when I called him and asked, "Hey, are you free this weekend to do this?" He's like, "Actually, yeah, I am."
Yeah,
So,
and you got a couple of my favorites too. Bill Oberst Jr.,
oh,
amazing actor. Like he's one of the best out there, I think.
guy, he's a fucking jewel to the indie world, man. If you can get Bill in your film, you need to get it because not only is he awesome and he delivers, he elevates the talent around
He does.
it. Everybody has to bring their A game because he's so damn good, and he gets creepy like nobody else.
Oh, he does. I mean, I've seen him in so many movies. Like he can play it off either as the great old sage or the complete psychopath. Like he just makes any role work in anything he
Yeah,
does.
yeah. I really just liked him as Popcorn and Circus of the Dead, and I always wanted to work with him, but originally that character of Jed was written for Bill Johnson, who's also in the film. He has a cameo.
Yes.
He's
Yeah.
Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre too.
Yep.
Been friends with Bill for a long time. He lived in Austin for a very long time. He moved out of state recently. Um, but I always try to put Bill in my films. I wrote that character for Bill, and then there's a proof of concept trailer that we did, and Bill played that character in the proof of concept trailer. Um, so he was always supposed to be it, but due to his age and health issues during COVID, he's just like, I just don't feel like I can be around that many actors in such
Right.
a role because until there's a vaccine and everything like that. So I understood. And so I'm like, okay, now what am I I just lost, one of my biggest roles in there. Having Leatherface in the film was a big deal, and I needed somebody to cover that role. So the first thing came to mind. Fuck, I'm going to ask Robert Englund. So I contacted Robert Englund's management. They got back to me. Thanks for the reach out, but COVID times and everything like that. Robert's being very selective because we did
Yeah.
read the script, we liked it, but it's not right at the time. Oh, okay, well that was a good rejection letter.
At least it
All
was nice about it.
right, well, if we can't have Bill Johnson, let's write Bill Mosley. So I wrote Bill Mosley's talent, and they're like, "Is this a SAG film?" I was like, "No, no, then absolutely not." So I didn't even get it in front of Mosley because it wasn't SAG, and so I'm like, "Well, shit." Well, the first two bills didn't work. Let me see about Bill Oberst because the character was supposed to be older.
Yeah.
Bill was a little young for the role, so I had to actually change it. I won't spoil who he is, but he was supposed to be someone else, and
Yeah.
the character Jet was supposed to come off as someone else. So I had met Bill Oberst at a local convention here in Bastrop, Texas, called Cult Classic, and the Circus of the Dead people were here. And my booth, when I was promoting Butcher's Bluff before we even filmed it, one of the keys to my success has been the fact that I go to conventions and I promote the shit out of my stuff, even if the film's not even shot yet. It's fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of people over there because I had the mask on the table and props and just I was giving away free posters and photo ops and stuff. I put the costume on for a couple of hours one day and posted pictures for free. And Bill Oberst was paying attention. So on Sunday, when I went over there to say hi to him, I didn't bother him here the week, or during the Friday and Saturday. And he's like, "So tell me about what you got going on over there." I told him, he's like, "Look," he's like, "here's my card with my personal phone number." He goes, "I want to work with you. Call me sometime." So I had his card. And when, the bills didn't work out, I called that bill. And now I can't imagine anybody else pulling it off
Oh yeah, definitely.
better than Oberst. I mean, the guy's, like I said, I can't say enough good things about him. He's not only a fantastic actor, but just a fantastic, genuine human being. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. So if you get a chance to meet an independent filmmakers out there, if you get a chance to work with, do it. You won't regret
Yeah, I got to talk to Bill a few years back when he did. a movie called Painkiller, and he played a radio host whose daughter died of an opioid overdose. So he becomes a mass vigilante at night, killing drug
Yeah,
dealers and doctors. When I
yeah.
and
I remember seeing the poster for that. That looked cool.
Yeah, and the fact that was him playing that guy, I was like, oh my God, just just the way he was, and then yeah, he was like he's like the nicest guy. He's like one of the nicest people ever. That's what I like about horror people. They may scare the crap out of you on screen, but in real life, when you get to meet them, they're like the nicest
Yeah.
people in the entire world.
He's a method actor, so he even said, "Look, I need you to let people know that I might not be the nicest person to them on set because I'm trying to stay in character the whole time." And
Yeah,
he would go off by himself. He didn't eat people. He's and people like he's kind of rude. Is like that's not Bill right now. He's Jed. He don't want you to like him.
yeah, and that worked.
So and he's gonna stay off. He has to try to stay in that dark mindset. And I say once we wrap him, he'll be the friendliest person in the world to you. Because we had lunch before when I first picked him up from the airport. I like to pick up my actors myself and spend the day with them and really talk to them before we start shooting. And really, so that was good. We spent several hours, talking about the role and what we're going to do before we shot. I picked them up the day before, and
Yeah, this is why I love indie films, man. You guys are willing to be there for your actors, and whatnot, and no matter what, like you don't have to worry about waiting to come out of a trailer or whatnot. You just like
yeah,
you said yourself, you get to pick them up and just hang out with them, and I that's what I love. That's what makes a film work. You got that dynamic working together, and I think
absolutely
and I think that's why these type of films, I think they're better than the A-list Hollywood films, in my opinion.
right. Yeah, it's just I mean, I wear a lot of hats, bro. You have to. It's just one of those things where if you're making an indie film, then you have to be prepared to be doing a lot of jobs.
And yeah, and if for those who are going to watch this, they haven't figured this out. William here actually plays Alex Grimley in this movie, the adult Alex Grimley.
Yeah,
So
the Hogman.
we're gonna get that out. He's the Hogman in this movie, and he does such a fantastic job, not just as a killer, but at one point there is one section. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's one point where we get to see a bit of a soft side to that adult version of the character, and that's when I knew I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be a breakout. Like this guy's definitely gonna be a breakout. Should this continue, like they do something more with this?
I hope so. I do have the sequel already written, so
Oh, there we go. We just
that's not a spoiler. You don't know is it a prequel? Is it a sequel? I don't know, but it's a continuation.
so
uh,
aside from Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw and it's Hatchet and yeah, you can say Blair Witch Project. What are some of your favorite horror films that you like checking out, like old or new?
I like obviously the Nightmare on Elm Street films and the Halloween. I like the big things. Fright Night was one of my favorites. Lost Boys, vampire stuff that time. Near Dark, those were all really cool
Yeah.
films. The Exorcist was probably the first horror film I saw when I was a kid. I thought the vomit was hilarious. So you just didn't get how scary it actually was when
That's funny you said that because my first one was Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and I watched it with my brother, and the scene where Freddy pops out of Jesse's
yeah.
body, I said, "This is the coolest." I was saying to myself, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire
Oh
life."
yeah, when he puts his fedora on afterwards, and then just goes
Yeah,
little.
I was
I'm
only
like,
like 7 years old, like 6 or 7 years old,
yeah,
and I saw him like this is and my brother's looking at me like he thinks I was gonna get scared by it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I
yeah.
think I might have starred him after
A
that.
babysitter took me to see the original Nightmare on Elm Street in the movie theaters in 1984.
Wow.
and I wasn't even 10 years old yet. So it was traumatizing, but also very cool.
Yeah. And to this day I love watching those old 80s horror films. No, even like the really like the low budget ones too.
Yep.
You know, the,
Yep.
let's just face
I
it.
watched Cutting Class the other day. That's Brad Pitt, first real movie. Yeah, I like to watch some of those old ones.
Yeah, I watched. Yeah, a couple months ago.
Prowler.
Yeah, I saw Doom Asylum a couple months ago, and had Kristen
Yeah.
Davis from Sex and the City, like her very first movie, and also had Patty Mullen from Frankenhooker in it. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
I,
Have you seen Slaughter High?
yeah, oh, it's one of my
Oh,
favorites.
Slaughter High was
That is one of I watched
great.
that when I was 8, and that's still to this day one of my all time like
Yeah.
Yeah, like 38 years later, I still love that movie. I can never
Yeah,
get rid of it.
yeah.
So it's like,
God bless Tubi. You can find so many of those old
oh
gems
yes, I
on
love
there.
TV. Yes, you can find anything on there. I even watch a lot of the trauma films on there, like the
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High, and
Hmm.
oh, I love those. But
Yep.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, this one's gonna be a good one though. Butcher's Bluff. People definitely need to check this one out for sure.
Hey, thanks, man. I mean, we worked really hard on it. Again, like I was saying, it's a labor of love. We started writing the script again around 2016, late 16. Finished it up around late 17, and all of 2018 and 2019, I promoted and tried to get a budgeting for it. I finally just reluctantly went to crowdfunding, but it worked, and I was able to raise enough money to make the film through crowdfunding. But it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I don't like the fact that I had to, you know, wait so long to make it, but I feel like it created so much of a buzz the longer it took. And the more I was able to push it and go to conventions and meet the fans of horror and really get it out there, the name recognition, it helped when I finally did do a crowdfunding. People have heard of it. Now I'll tell you a cool story, and a lot of people can say I'm calling bullshit or not, but hey, yeah, I know it's true. And right him, ask him. He told me uh, I was in Las Vegas at Days of the Dead in January, pitching my next film. I had a proof of concept trailer and a pitch deck, and we went and met the Michael Levy, who's one of the producers for Terrifier, and pitched it to him. Hey, y'all guys might be interested in producing this film. And they were really impressed. And when when I said I made a Butcher's Bluff, because he asked me if I'd done anything before, and he said, "Wait a minute, I think I saw your Indiegogo when you lost it, because you were in like a haunted hotel, weren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." He saw my Indiegogo back when they were raising money for Terrifier too.
Oh wow,
Even the producers of Terrifier had heard of it,
that's amazing. Yeah, I would
and
believe
that
it. I
that
would
was
totally
cool.
believe it because I'm going to quote Spooky Dan Walker, the guy director of Sleigh Bells. The horror community is like can be like one big family. Like it doesn't matter. They can all come together. The horror filmmaker community work together. Like it doesn't like Proof with Bill Oberst, appearing in your film after the other two Bills couldn't make it. But yeah, they can if with the right chemistry, they all can come together as a family. And I hear that a lot from having
Yeah,
to do.
I mean, so the horror fans are so supportive too, because I mean, there's an outlet for just about every style of horror. There's a fan. Even like you said, the trauma trash films, people love that shit.
Yeah.
There's a whole fan that's just they love to watch a bad movie, like deliberately bad. They laugh, they enjoy it, and that's the thing. Cool. Some people like the suspense, the elevated horror, which I'm kind of like that's just kind of a snooze fest to me. But I like the slasher. I do like ghost films. So, I thought The Conjuring was fucking badass. Insidious, really cool. Speaking of Insidious, my next film called Goldilocks, we got the director of photography for Insidious on board to
Oh, that's awesome.
shoot the next film.
Oh,
So
that's amazing.
we had many camera operators on Butcher's Bluff. So it took us 2 years of filming.
Oh, wow.
Shooting on the weekend, we shot on the weekends. With COVID, people's schedules. There was what we call an ice apocalypse here in Texas. We had a snowstorm or an ice storm that killed all the trees.
Oh
So
man.
I had to wait for the trees to get, a little green in them again. Luckily, the trees that we shot throughout are consistently dead. So, I kind of looked for that creepy dead looking tree. We found some property. I was generous enough to let us film almost all of our woods scenes on his property, and you know, and we it was just great. We found so many of our locations were just donated to us. The RV was donated to us. I mean, he just let us use it, and I had that RV for like a year before I gave it back. It was just sitting in my front yard, because he's like, "Are you done with it yet?" I was like, "Oh, I still have a shot left," and um, yeah. Johnny Hong, who's the Derek character, Asian character,
Yeah.
the hero, he is actually the touring Ninja Turtle for Vanilla Ice. So getting him to come to set was crazy because he was always on tour with Vanilla Ice. So around the world doing tours and stuff with Vanilla. So getting him on set was rough. And then he got COVID and almost died. COVID and pneumonia,
Oh
almost died.
man, that's
And
crazy.
his last scenes where he's running through the woods, his lungs were just healing. so
Oh,
so he came out as a trooper. He came out and did those last scenes because I was like, holy shit. He's like, I haven't barely walked. He's been out of the hospital maybe 3 weeks and he's out there running in the woods. So uh, everybody were troopers, man. Everybody, because I mean, there was days. There's a scene where the sheriff pulls over the kids in the RV, and in Texas it was 110 degrees that day.
oh wow.
Every single one of us overheated. We were trying our best not to, and we shot for 9 hours. We endured. We would take breaks, go sit in the
Oh
car.
man, you actually pulled a Texas Chainsaw
Yeah.
Massacre.
Yep.
You
Yep.
actually
Now
pulled that off.
come evening time, we moved locations down to an area that was shaded. So it was around 4 p.m. and it was August. So it's hot as shit. But we pulled down and it dropped about 20 degrees in the shade. So we actually got a wind in there, and everybody was so much more pleasant because everybody was kind of on the edge, overheating because it was just so hot, and cameras overheating, just people getting frustrated because it was so sweaty, and it was man, there was some bad times. I mean, it was good times, but it was just the elements, they weren't working. It was
Yeah.
so hot in Texas. I try not to film in the summertime, but here it's this, you just don't know what the weather here, so it's kind of like, all right, well, we're just gonna do it. And, some of the scenes, the girls were wearing shorts because it was originally shot in summer and it was shot during the winter and it's freezing. We had heaters on them and blankets between takes. They're just out there. They're out there just freezing their asses off, and that's it. No one complained.
Yeah,
These
that's
actors
good. Yeah.
all did it. They all just sucked it up. And we were there making a fucking movie, and they were all there with me. And I'm so grateful to all of them because they all brought it. And the two girls, the Pleasure Twins, they never done a movie before.
Oh wow.
Their first,
They did an impressive job for their first
yeah,
movie.
their first film, and but they were the best actors in audition.
That's
I felt
amazing.
I felt like they were the characters. So,
Yep. And also special effects teams were the special effects and visual effects. I mean, you had as soon as I saw Joe Castro's name popped up, I was like, this is gonna be mind blowing because
yeah,
you know of his work, you
yep,
know.
yeah.
And
Jenna Green did the majority of the effects. She was also in Face Off. She was in season two,
yeah,
and she did the majority of it. But Joe brought in a lot of extra stuff. He did, and I mean, I gotta give credit where credit's due. I did a lot of the effects myself.
oh, that's awesome.
The quick kills, the kills in the beginning, a lot of that just they were so quick. That's all we shot. I just didn't have time to afford to bring out an effects artist when I'm able to do that myself. I've learned pretty much every job there is to do on a set, and I can do pretty decent wounds and blood effects. I've been hired on as an effects artist for indie films here in town as well. So, but the majority of it, yeah, it was Jenna. She was very creative on a lot of the kills. Like I would come up with shit on the fucking set. Hey, can you do that? Just give me 10 minutes, and she'd come up with an idea.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's mind blowing. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if you saw how she did that hatchet influenced kill, that was great. I
yeah,
mean, it's a puppet, and the actor underneath it's actually got his hand in there. He's moving the tongue. He's moving his own tongue.
that is
Yeah.
crazy. Oh
So
man.
yeah, so it was great, and just Joe made the head when I cut the guy's head off and show it to the other guy. I mean, that's not a spoiler.
Yeah,
You don't know who I'm talking about, but yeah, he made that head. It's so lifelike. I take it to conventions with me.
yeah.
You know,
Joe did some fantastic work and like recently in Chad Fair's Scalper, and That's a Wrap, which was one of my favorite horror films from over the last couple of years. And
Right.
so yeah, great job. Like I said, great job to everyone on this film. And so you
Thank you.
mentioned a continuation's in the works. Is there anything else in the works that you could talk about?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a proof of concept of my next film, Goldilocks. It's kind of like Silence of the Lambs meets Your Next meets Halloween. It's a serial killer slash home invasion film. It's what happens if a serial killer is in the closet during a home invasion.
Oh, that sounds
It
awesome.
becomes monster versus monster.
Oh, that's gonna
One,
be
one group just wants to rob the place. Serial killer wants to kill the person. So
oh
we have
man.
we have a babysitter tied up in the middle. She's house sitting and babysitting for the New Year's Eve weekend for the phone, and the homeowner is a banker that's embezzled money, and
That's
home invaders know about it. And
wow.
yeah, so it starts off kind of like sound like kind of almost like From Dusk Till Dawn, almost like a crime noir. We
Yeah.
establish who the serial killer is, and we make him out to be basically a scarier version of Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs on steroids, one that could actually fuck you up. And we show how sick he is, and how he deals with his victims, and the detectives are basically looking for him. And come mid movie, he follows one of his victims out to this house. She's house sitting, and he's going to kill her there, and that's when everything happens. Now he kind of gets involved, and the girl doesn't know he's there to kill her. She thinks he's there to help her. So she's helping him, not knowing that by helping him, she's sealing her own fate.
Wow, that sounds great. I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out for sure.
Yeah, we have a proof of concept trailer that we made. So if you go to Goldilocks Movie on Facebook, the poster's there and the proof of concept trailer is there. We also have shot a short film, got one scene left to finish on that, and we'll be submitting that short film with Goldilocks in it, which is basically a very condensed, dumbed down version of about the first 10, 15 pages in this book. Basically for a proof of concept to show investors, again, like the guys from Terrifier and possibly even Breaking Glass. I've kind of thrown it out to them like, hey, y'all want to finance this film? And they're like, tempting. Let's see. So I said, I got something cooking. I'll let you see it when I'm done. So, hopefully it'll live up, and we'll be able to get everything done. He's the DP of Insidious is on board with this, so it's going to look really good. And again, I'm bringing back Jeremy London and Bill Oberst and Paul T. Taylor. So all the three were in Butcher's Bluff. All three will be in as well.
Awesome. Everyone, check out Butcher's Bluff on March 11th. This is when the movie's coming out. If those of you who love the 80s slasher films, you're going to want to see this one. You're definitely going to want to see this one, hands down. And William, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk about the movie.
Also, please follow us at the official Butcher's Bluff fan page. If you are a collector, I do have my physical media rights. So I am making VHS and DVDs. So there'll be collectibles. If you'd like to buy them, I also have t-shirts, posters, and all those things. Easy to contact. I'm easy to find. So follow us and keep up with the movie, man.
Yep. Awesome. Well, as always, stay awesome. And you know what? We're going to keep in touch after this because this is freaking awesome. Hands down.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, you take care and stay awesome. All right.